CarLifestyle podcast
with host
Seth Rose from Exotics Rally,
T-minus Gabe Florido
from CarLifestyle.
Ready?
Yeah,
it's a $50 bill, all right.
This was interesting. On our way over.
What the fuck? Now the fucking $100 is keeping the fucking...
What about it? Oh,
That's
it's
a
$50.
half $100. Yeah.
It's 50.
Yeah. Wait till you hear this fucking story.
Yeah, tell the story.
He's a dick.
Whose 100 did it used to be?
It was my $100 bill.
So why do you have half of it?
Because he's a fucking extraordinarily illmatic baller, this fucking guy. Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell the story.
All right. So fucking, we get on the ferry, right, to come here. And I'm like, all right, so I'm relaxed. You know, we parked the car, whatever, and I'm relaxed. And he's like, yo, all right, you going to get out? And I was like, no, I'm going to chill here. And he's like, you can't chill here. Right. He was like, you can't chill here.
I said you can't stay in the car.
Right. So I'm like,
why can't you stay in a car?
I'm like, yo, you want to bet? So he was like, absolutely.
I take the ferry in Orient Point all the time, and you're not allowed to stay in the car. They don't let you.
Right. So
I
I'm like,
assumed it was the same.
right. Like a moron. So I was like, yo, you want to bet?
I'm
so
a
he's
fucking
like,
moron.
yeah, I'll bet. So I was like, how much? So I was like, $20. He was like, done. I was like, $100. So he was like, hold on. And he goes, get out of the car, and he's like, excuse me, sir, you know, can we stay in the car, you know, for the, you know, duration of the trip? He was like, absolutely. I was like, give me my $100, you fuck. So Seth is like, oh, I didn't shake your hand. I'm not giving it to you. And I was like, you motherfucker. So anyway, there's some women there, and I was like, you know, this guy just cheated me out of the fucking $100. He won't even fucking, you know, adhere to his fucking bet. So whatever. So we go upstairs to the cocktail lounge, and he's like, you know what? You know, because I was giving him a hard time. So I was like, you know, he was like, you know what? And I was like, what? And he was like, I'll give you the fucking $100. And I was like, yeah, you should. And he was like, I'll give you half of it. And I was like, and how are you going to do that? So he was like, I'll rip this in half. And I was like, go ahead, baller. Go ahead. Let's see you rip it in half. I dare you. Sure enough, he ripped this motherfucker in half. So now I have half the 100 under my phone, and he's put half the 100 under his phone.
Well, so next time you guys reunite, you can spend it together?
Reunite? What are we, Transformers?
The whole idea was for me that I didn't actually seal the deal with the bet, but he felt
Seal the deal.
But he felt like he still needed
You
something.
know what? He
felt
doesn't
like
have
needed
to shake.
something.
So you gotta give him a tip.
To pat him on the head a little,
yeah.
like
He's
when you
so
get home and the
fucking
dog
funny.
runs to the door because it needs that, affection, a little pat on the
It's
head.
all right. I got him right now. Go ahead. Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
I gave him half the $100.
Oh, that was so sweet. You know what? He doesn't have to shake the hand of the guy dealing the cards in the fucking casino, but guess what? The bet is on. Bitch ass. You should give me the other fucking 50.
He's just dying for this other $100.
Motherfucking right. What a dickhead.
All right, and with that story, welcome back to the Car Lifestyle Podcast.
I knew it was on Dickweed.
Featuring your hosts, T-minus,
And my co-host.
Seth Rose, along with our third wheel.
Yes. Our friend in the witness protection program that does not talk, Gabe.
What's up, guys?
And our special guest for this week is...
Incredibly special, Mr. Ryan Tuerck.
What's up, everybody?
Welcome, Ryan.
Thank you, guys. Glad to be here.
Pro Formula Drift driver and stuntman and... What
Am I
else?
stuntman?
You did that stuff for for Nissan. You did the commercial for them when they
Hyundai.
released it.
Hyundai.
Wait a second.
Wait, no, I did the swimsuit
you don't even
thing
know
for
what
Nissan.
you did.
The swimsuit thing for Nissan.
You were in a swimsuit for Nissan?
No,
Yeah, he dressed up like Borat.
I don't know if you guys know, but I got a pretty sexy body underneath these clothes. I don't want to show you right
Yeah,
here
why don't you
now,
show
but-
us? Why don't you show us?
No, that's all good. That's all good. Anyway, we came all the way out here to Connecticut by ferry to go see Ryan because he's in the middle of...
We came here by ferry from a ferry. Yeah.
Since Ryan's in the middle of his pro drifting season for 2015, and he's got an incredibly busy schedule, he happened to catch a ride back to the East Coast, and he took a little time out of his busy schedule to join us on the podcast. So I guess we'll start off with, not everybody knows about drifting and or who Ryan Tuerck is. And, we know you on both a personal level and a business level alike. And, we've done a couple of cool ventures together and had a lot of fun. and anybody that doesn't know who you are, you're a very down-to-earth, chill guy, and you're always up for an adventure. And so why don't we start off with giving us a little background of yourself, how you got started, childhood. Give us a little history of who Ryan Tuerck is.
Yeah, no worries. So my dad got me and my brothers. I have a twin brother, Justin, and a younger brother, Evan. And my old man.
You're twins?
Yes.
I didn't even know
Yeah.
that. Look at
Yeah.
this. I'm learning things every second.
We are. We're
What kind
fraternal.
of boyfriend are you?
Not a very loyal one.
Just the way I like them. Yeah, we're fraternal. We look identical. My old man grew up in Queens, and he always wanted to give his spawns eventually, what he couldn't have in a city, which was dirt bikes and motorcycles and freedom like that, that you didn't really have growing up in a city environment. So when we were about 9 years old, the old man bought us some dirt bikes, and it was the best thing in the world as a 9-year-old kid. So we started riding, got the hang of it, and then we started racing at 10. I raced motocross from 10 to 19 years old.
So that was like 4 years ago, because you look like you're
I'm gonna hold on to that, all right? I'm holding on to those
Seth is
20s.
just attracted to young men.
I am. You're so right. So what was your first dirt bike?
First dirt bike was a Honda Z50. I forget, it was like an 85 or something like that. Just a 3-speed, small bike. You couldn't really jump it. It was heavy as crap as a young kid. But yeah, they just learn on
any bad
that.
experiences when you were a kid? Like any bad accidents?
Well,
you break any
first,
bones?
I didn't have any terrible accidents on, but the first morning, my dad brought it home at like midnight one night, and he puts it in the kitchen, and he wakes us out of bed and brings us upstairs, and we're like, holy shit, there's a fucking dirt bike in the kitchen. And me and my brother's like, can we ride it? And my dad's like, no, you have to wait till the morning. So obviously he teased us, and we didn't sleep the rest of the night. We wake up at like 5 a.m. and before school, my dad lets us take it out. It was my turn, so I went out and he taught me how to use the throttle and where the brakes were. And then when Justin got on the bike, he fucking whiskey throttled the thing right into a rock wall right before school, and like busted his knuckles up and his foot and all this shit. So it was.
How was the bike? More importantly,
bike was fine.
Okay, good.
He got busted up.
You're gonna get beat up by Justin Tuerck, bro.
Well, they were brothers. Come on, that's what brothers do.
Yeah.
Justin is just a tad more aggressive than me.
So yeah, that was the
Were
first
you more
experience.
concerned about him or the bike?
I don't even. It happened on the back side of the house, so I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that they had to. I forget if they brought him to the hospital. I don't think it was that bad, but he had to go to school late and get bandaged up.
He manned up. He was like, "Yo, I got this. We're going to school."
Oh, he didn't give a shit. He just wanted
he
to
don't
jump back
care.
on a bike anyway.
That's awesome.
Well, if the horse get back on.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where our hand-eye coordination and everything else came into play. Obviously we're riding bicycles, skateboards, you name it, as a kid and growing up in New Hampshire. So we had a lot of freedom with what we could do.
So you said your father was from Queens, but you all grew up in New Hampshire?
We all grew up in New Hampshire, yeah. Southern New Hampshire, in a town called Derry.
Is that like pretty rural or?
Pretty rural, a big suburbanite from Boston, about 45 minutes north of the city.
Cool.
Still commutable, but I wouldn't want to be doing that commute.
It's not like you're a driver or anything.
Yeah, exactly. I drive enough as it is for a living. So, we grew up racing and training, and as things progressed and our skill level progressed, my father would invest more money into us as
It's kind
as
of an
riders.
expensive sport.
Super expensive, especially to
The traveling. Yep.
the traveling. I mean, cars. Drifting is expensive, but motocross is less expensive in some ways.
Especially when you don't have a sponsor. Like a lot of people don't realize
Right.
that, when you're taking these things on as hobbies, it's an expensive hobby.
Absolutely.
You
And
know?
motocross is every single weekend.
Really?
I mean, if you're in your local championship or local organization racing in a serious, putting serious time in, then you're racing basically every single weekend. And that's where the money, that's where most of the expense comes in. Drifting, you're driving once or twice a month. But in motocross, the bikes are less expensive than a car. The parts are less expensive, but you're racing 3 times, 4 times as much as you are in drifting.
You got to be in
anyway.
good physical shape for that.
Yes, it's the most physically
There's
demanding
definitely
sport
a
in
big
the world.
difference between motocross and drifting as far as being
Absolutely.
physically capable.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, best shape of my life was when I was from 16 to 20 years old. So, handling a 300-pound motorcycle for 30 minutes plus 2 laps on an outdoor motocross track with a ton of different obstacles and jumps and berms and whoops and everything is extremely, extremely difficult. So, and then doing that 4 times a day in one day is wear you out. Yeah. I'm starting to feel all those injuries now that I'm in my elder years.
Are you really?
In my 20s.
You're starting to feel the stress on your joints and all that?
Oh yeah, I mean my injuries have all, it's all coming back to me now. I broke elbow, ribs, fingers, my ankle, my leg, surgery on my foot. I broke the navicular on that. If anybody knows about the navicular bone, it's one of the worst ones you can break in your wrists and your ankles.
Oh God.
So yeah, I mean that just goes with everyone in motocross has injury stories.
List,
yeah, I mean it's
Pins,
endless.
staples, stitches, all.
Absolutely.
Not for nothing, Pastrana's
his takes the
list
cake,
is
man.
out
Takes
of
the cake.
control.
Who's this?
Travis Pastrana?
Yeah.
I don't know. I read someplace that he's broken every bone in his body like twice.
Yes.
Legit. Every
Yeah.
bone in his body.
That's awful.
I mean, he's put together with tape and glue. So
He's very successful now, but he paid for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, a lot of guys know him now at a younger age. I mean, the younger age generation now doesn't know that he grew up in a motocross family, racing and going through the ranks as an amateur all the way to the pros before he made a name for himself in Nitro Circus and the freestyle motocross.
He was a
scene.
tremendous success way before he was known nationally.
Yeah, well, worldwide, I would say. I mean, he was known
worldwide,
in the U.S. in a big level just from a lot of the old Crusty Demons of Dirt videos in the motocross industry.
Interesting. That's wild. So, I mean, yeah, so it's a lot of abuse. So you grew up around the motocross, and your father got you heavily into that. So, I guess your whole the whole background between motocross and automotive all came from your father pushing you into it, more or less.
Absolutely, yeah. It wasn't a huge push. I mean, it was basically
Right,
what me
you
and my
grabbed
brothers
onto it.
wanted
It was
to
what
do.
they love to do. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, he definitely was like, all right,
catalyst for it.
This is what needs to happen to get to the next level for you guys.
Cool.
And he would provide that for us. And then eventually, when we were 16, we got our pro license. We raced the Canadian series. Canadian
So both you and your
Nationals.
brother were still on the same page.
Yep. Me and my brother were both pretty much the same speed for most of our childhood. And
Didn't you get like a motorhome and drive cross country and do all
we
that?
did. We did. We traveled up and down the East Coast, traveled all across Canada. We did Loretta Lynn's I think 3 years.
The country music singer?
Yeah, she actually owns this ranch called the Loretta Lynn's Ranch, and that's where the biggest amateur national motocross championship is.
Wow.
So you actually spend your entire year, or not your entire year, but the majority of your season doing area qualifiers, then a regional qualifier, and then preparing to go to the Loretta Lynn Ranch, where the biggest amateur national race is arguably
So
in the world.
crazy.
That's interesting.
And that's where guys
I had
get
no idea
farmed out.
Loretta Lynn
Me
had
neither.
anything to
Me
do with
neither.
motocross.
It's crazy, and that's where that's where all the up and coming riders all get farmed out from the pro teams now.
Really?
Wow.
Based on a lot.
Does she do it out of the love for the sport or as a business?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what the dynamic there is. I know it started back in the early '80s.
Wow.
So who knows? The ranch is absolutely beautiful, though.
It's got to be huge.
Dude, I mean, it was an incredible place to go, and there's a river that goes right through the entire property.
It's like Woodward, but for
motocross.
Yeah.
And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people there that travel there. Yeah, because this is one weekend, and people from all around the world come to the States to try to qualify for this one race. So it's pretty intense situation.
So how did you do?
Best place was 7th with a little bit of bike failure in a 250B stock class. There's 3, so it's 3 races per class. You can only do a maximum of 2 classes. And that's the best I did. It was pretty good.
What did Justin do?
I forget. He didn't race that year, I don't think.
Are you and your brother very competitive with each other?
Of course.
Were you guys ever pitted against each other?
Yeah, we were in the same class. We did the same races.
Sick.
That's great.
A lot of we were all the time. We were first and second quite often.
I could only imagine Ryan's house. Hey, Justin, we're getting breakfast. Fuck you!
Did he ever fuck with your bike and let some air
Hell
outside?
no.
Nah, they wouldn't do that. They're close.
As much as we were
Rivals,
it was teamwork, man. Because a lot of times, I mean, my dad worked his ass off to provide what he could, but we were still we weren't at like a top level financially as far as other guys in the sport. So we
I'm
would,
sure there's crazy money in that. Yeah.
crazy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we would be racing for money. So there'd be there's a contingency program that the manufacturers provide. So Kawasaki, we rode Kawasaki's for quite a few years, mainly because their contingency program was the best out of the other manufacturers. And there were certain races that they paid contingency at. And as amateurs, we would travel around to the races that paid the most contingency those weekends and basically just race for
the
money.
people that don't understand, contingency is
It's manufacturer dollars that are able to be spent back on parts at the dealerships.
should you win.
Should you win
Right.
or come in the position that pays money,
Right.
which is usually top 3. So usually me and Justin would be first or second or on the podium. And actually, I think they pay back the 5th, to be honest. Kawasaki did. So we'd be, making money, and it would help my dad with just putting new tires on the
Tons of
bikes,
expenses, yeah.
clutches, chains, sprockets.
I had a friend of mine
suspension.
whose kid was like this, not even pro, but just amateur go-kart racing. They spent
Same thing, man. Yeah.
thousands.
Oh,
per
I've
week.
heard. I've heard from Lewis Hamilton's family.
He had
Yeah.
like a mechanic on call at the parking lot where they set up. I mean, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I feel like karting is
crazy.
probably it's even on a more of a different level, just because there's more setup to that.
Yeah.
That is because I feel like everybody's more at a closer speed in go karts, so there's more of a setup dynamic there than a motocross.
It was
is
crazy.
it's a lot more.
Motorhome, trailer, tent,
Oh, yeah.
mechanic. I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now my son wants to do it.
But legitimately, that's where a lot of Formula One drivers
Absolutely.
get their start from.
Yeah.
From karting.
Well, pretty much all of them.
All of them.
I mean,
now.
they're all farmed out from that at this point.
Really? All of them. Wow.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
So you moved from that, and when did you decide that you were going to be done with motocross?
me and my brother, we were 19 and a half. We're about midway through the season. This is 2002. And Justin decided he wanted to stop racing for, we're going through some family stuff. My dad was having an issue with, supporting it financially. He was doing it for 10 years.
It's a lot.
So
That's a huge undertaking, like we were just saying.
massive.
Yeah.
So so everything just kind of came to a head, unfortunately. But at the same time, me and my brother we were training and riding. I mean, it just progressively got more and more and more intense. We're homeschooled. We were spending our winters down in Florida
Wow.
in training and riding, so we didn't have to deal with
So this
taking
was,
any
this,
time
this
off.
was a lifestyle.
Full on.
Oh yeah. So it just kind of came to a point where me and my brothers didn't want to waste any more of my dad's money if our heart wasn't in it, if we weren't training 100%
Right.
and doing what it takes to try to get to the next level.
That's very noble.
So at the same time, it was it all just kind of happened the way it was going to happen. We stopped riding when we were about 19 and a half.
Ryan's really into Latin lovers, so.
Wow.
So we were off the air for
Catherine.
2 seconds. Now we're back on the air. We had to take a quick lunch break. Welcome back to the Car Lifestyle Podcast featuring our guest, Ryan Tuerck. So, Ryan, we left off with you saying that at 19 and a half, you stopped motocross.
Yeah, me and my brother stopped riding around that time, and we had already actually purchased our first car, which was a 1990 Ford Mustang LX 5.0. And
Was it a hatchback or was it a notchback?
it was a hatchback. I wish it was a notchback. Those were, when you own a Mustang, all you wanted was the notchback. But we pulled our money together. This is pretty early in that motocross season. And we did that because a friend of ours had given us a ride in another person's Mustang that he had borrowed. I don't know if this person knew that he was driving it like this, but he picked me and my brother up, and he was just going crazy, doing donuts and figure eights and like drifting out of some small turns and stuff. And me and my brother were like, holy crap, we need to do this. So we pulled our money together, bought our first Mustang, and we would, growing up in the environment that we did with motocross and knowing how to train and practice properly and where to put your time in and all that, we got good pretty quick. So we would go out almost every night and go burn the tires off this Mustang in empty parking lots and just different areas of town that we could find and try not to get in trouble in.
Were there any unfortunate incidents?
Yes. Yeah. we I don't know if... we're definitely known around town. I don't know if we got caught that much.
You guys are so wholesome.
Yeah, there was definitely the streets were definitely lit with a ton of black rubber that year.
That was the precursor to Tuerck.
Yeah.
Yeah, before
pretty much.
like the driveway got very famous.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, I'll just use the entire town.
So yeah, it was a playground, right? So we would go out late at night and do whatever we could to practice car control, and we didn't even know what drifting was at the time. We just knew that what we were doing was awesome, and then we loved it, and that's why we would keep on risking our licenses, being naive, punk-ass teenagers.
Did you ever lose your license?
Yeah, I ended up losing my license a couple years later for actually something really stupid. It was in the rain in my 240, and I had like bald tires on it from the day before, and I went and I had to make a U-turn, so I made a U-turn, the rear end kicked out, and this cop that he was super butthurt about the situation. A young kid, but in his early 20s, and he just wanted to prove something to, a punk-ass 19-year-old or something.
Did he prove it?
So he proved it, brought me to court. I lost my license for 6 months.
Unbelievable. Because there's no rapists or murderers or child molesters out there.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it is what it is. I was, I'm still a young kid at that point, and nothing can touch me. So 6 months was whatever. And it just gave me more time to work on the car and progress it to the next level and put a turbo engine in and that kind of thing,
So you started off with the Mustang, and your next car after the Mustang was the 240?
Yep. So me and my brother, we drove the Mustang for a full summer. Almost got caught a couple times. Found out what drifting was actually from downloading videos online. Kazaa. Back in the day. And
Option 2 videos, absolutely.
The old iTunes, and not iTunes, but the old downloading music stuff, software. So we found out what drifting was from that, and that what we were doing was actually drifting. And then furthermore, we found out that there were local events popping up down in Englishtown, New Jersey, put on by like Chris Forsberg, Tony Angelo, Matt Petty, which is now Club Loose.
So being from a rural area of New Jersey, New Hampshire is like, pretty close.
Pretty close. I mean, yeah. I mean, 5.5 hours. I mean, Raceway Park is this massive motorsports facility, and me and my brothers, they got motocross tracks down there, and they had this big race called the Kawasaki Race of Champions. So we were familiar with growing up at Englishtown racing dirt bikes anyways, and now we're just like, it's just so many things tied together.
It was like natural progression.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that was really cool too. So I went down there after I sold the Mustang, bought the 240. Once I found out what drifting was, got a couple parts, started learning, what exactly to modify to the car to
Did
make
you
it
motor
drift
swap
better
it like
and handle.
SR20 and
No, couldn't.
No?
Didn't have the money. So I borrowed $1,500 from my old man.
Right.
And to buy this 240 that I had found, and it was this young kid who had bought it off his mother. It was a 1993 LX that had the leather, and his mom drove it. And the thing was pristine. I mean, this is still the cleanest 240 I've ever seen on a road. Had the sunroof, had the leather seats,
no rust,
rust at all. And this thing was super clean. I bought it for $1,900. Or I guess that's kind of expensive at the time.
It was
but the thing was
then,
mega clean
yeah.
with the or was it LS or LE? I forget the model that was. But anyway, so I bought it, and it had bald tires in the front and new 15-inch tires in the rear. And I take it to this local turn right behind my house, and I managed to push it.
And by right behind, he means 50 miles because it's New Hampshire. Right.
Maybe like a mile away. This nice U-turn. So I managed to. It was in the wet too, so I managed to try to clutch kick into the turn and just shot the thing straight off the road and found the only big boulder on the side and smashed the front end right into it.
What a disappointment!
Literally,
there went a beautiful
first 3
mint
hours.
Nissan
That was like
240.
the first time he had turked himself.
Exactly. So the bumper was all rashed up. I had to get pulled out of the ditch. Rad support was a little banged up. So that was my first. I wrecked the car the first 3 hours I had it. So at that point, game on.
Hold on, let me shake your hand for that. Because if you're gonna do it with conviction.
But it didn't matter to me. I bought the car as a tool. You know what I mean? I bought it for fun and for what I was gonna experience for the next 12 years of my life, and not knowing it then. But I mean, it was just a stepping stone. So. To me, it was a bummer, but it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't going to let it interfere with the rest of my goals, which was get a limited slip differential, get coilovers, and then that's pretty much the extent of what I knew at that point. Just get suspension and a differential so it could rip Pawsey, and that's it.
Really though, that's all you need.
That's all I needed at the time. That I would go get junkyard tires and pump them up to 60 psi, and
that's awesome.
It made it feel like you had an extra 100 horsepower because I was just rocked the NAKA engine for a full 2 years.
Which is pretty strong, not for nothing.
Yeah, which is also good because when you practice and you learn with no power, when you get to those next steps, when you do have power, it brings you to the next level so much easier.
Yeah,
and you're ready for it.
So you had this 240, and did you progress from there? Did you start drifting with the different clubs? Tell us a little about how you got into Formula Drift. And how you get into sponsorships and things of that nature.
Wait, but real quick, hold on. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
We got a story.
It's fine.
Just this past weekend, or not this past weekend, 2 weekends ago, in Long Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know who took it. I think maybe it was Larry Chen. I'm not positive. Somebody took a picture of Manabu Orito checking out your car, your pro car.
Yeah.
And that dude was like legendary. He was like the Ayrton Senna of drifting. When we first found out about drifting in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, he was definitely part of that.
Forget it.
Equation.
Like that dude was like, you were like, it's Arito, really? Like what? And then he's now 15 years later checking out your car.
Yeah, crazy, right?
It is.
I guess he has an FRS or the GT86 over in Japan,
right?
And since ours was performing arguably one of the best that anybody's seen to date. He wanted us to know what we had. So
he was like down on
we
his
had the
knee.
thing on jack stands.
Yeah,
the wheels
really?
are off, so he's just
Wow.
like getting in there, like what is going on?
He was like
with this
looking to
car?
see like what you had done to your suspension.
Absolutely.
So
I wasn't around. I was out doing an autograph session for the Air Force, but when he was there, I was told that he was underneath the car and just looking at everything, the WiseFab components.
That's
steering,
a huge
just everything.
homage.
It's cool.
Tremendous.
It's definitely really
Yeah.
cool. But also I'm like, oh, crap. Well, what if he's a competitor of mine?
Yeah,
Now he's checking out my car and seeing all this stuff.
Yeah. So now a couple of questions. Somebody was telling me a couple of weeks ago that that Formula D and the way that it started, he said there's really no. And not that I'm bringing down anything regarding any other types of racing, whether it be Indy or whether it be, stock cars and so on and so forth. But somebody said to me that it's actually really, most of the Formula D drivers say it's just silly. The whole idea behind it is kind of silly, but it's the most fun you could have while still racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
what do you consider it?
Well, I feel like that all stems from. I mean, it's the same scenario when snowboarding came around and it is a skiers mountain kind of scenario. It's like there's older guys who are stuck in their ways who enjoy the motorsport and they don't think there's any other room for anything else. Whereas, I mean, they can't deny when you actually do slide a car around a corner sideways and you step on a gas and power out of it all smoothly and perfect, and the friggin' wheels are the tires are baking off the back end of the car. It's one of the most exciting things that you can do in a car. I think it's not racing. It's a judgmental sport, just like BMX, skateboarding, any other action sport. It's the action sport of motorsports.
Right. It's a judging. Right. It's a sport that's judged.
And silly. I mean, I guess if you want to be kind of naive and not be with the mainstream and what the future is going to hold, it's just one of those things. You can be stuck in your ways, and that's fine. Everybody has their own point. And
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Sure.
Exactly.
Listen. I knew nothing about it until I met you at Englishtown that day. And you took me out in your car and started sliding it around, and then I found myself buying a 240 about a week later.
Exactly.
Which was just crazy.
You get bit by the bug. I mean, some people think it's cool. You can change some people when you give them a ride and they actually see what goes on from the driver's seat. I mean, there's a million things happening all at the same time, and
right.
it definitely requires a hell of a lot of hand-eye coordination as well as just instincts in the track and being comfortable with what you're doing. You're controlling a car that is out of control on the track, and you're trying to.
And that's what you had said to me that day. You said it's the most. You have to exhibit the most control of something that's out of control.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to.
Exactly.
And then you're judged based on that.
And then you have to control this car out of control, but still hit all the clipping points and this actual line drawn out by the judges. So I mean, that's what makes it exciting. It's just the cars are dancing around. You can you can kind of call it ballet or whatever, but when it looks smooth and the engines are screaming at red line and smoke is billowing into the crowd, I mean, it's a real thing that everybody can see and enjoy. It's just one of those really cool things that's right in front of your face, and there's just a lot going on with it. It's very, very dynamic sport.
All right, so we'll rewind just a little bit, and we'll go back to your progression in the sport. So you started with the 240 and doing your own thing, and now where did you go from there?
So when we found out about drifting, got the 240, did a couple upgrades to it, and then found out that there was actual events down in Englishtown, New Jersey. So I went to my first one. I think it was their second or third event ever held. And I was outside the gate. Me and my brothers were like all amped up, like can't wait to get in there and shred the track. Like up to this point, I was only hitting parking lots and like roads at midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, and
empty college campuses.
Yeah, that sort of thing. That sort of thing. So
which really launched your career into outer space. Yeah.
So my first time actually showing up to a track, it wasn't even a track. It was just the parking lot, but still, to me, it was like, this is it. And I went out there. It was a really cool situation. It was really low key. Everybody was super rad. Everybody was there to do the same thing. Everybody had that kind of sense of how special it really was, having this actually happen for all us punk ass kids, and it also being run by a bunch of punk ass kids who are just slightly older than me. It was ridiculous. So everything was run really well, and they let us run throughout the day, and then they'd choose some of the guys that were standouts that were running really well, and then they'd have an informal single run competition at the end of the night. So I got my first event. I got chosen as one of those drivers to compete, and you go out there and you do a lap, and then you'd be kind of judged on who did the best. I ended up winning the event my first time there, which was really cool. And
that's gotta be an awesome feeling.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. Like, got a little trophy and a big pat on the back and respect from the guys that started the organization down there. So it was really rad. And then my nickname was New Hampshire, and then it got changed to Hampshire. So I was that guy for a long time, and
never a ham star.
Never a ham star. And then from there,
a lot of jokes today. You got a lot of jokes.
Like, if only our audience could see me shaking my head with Seth's jokes.
He's got SMH on his forehead.
Yes, absolutely. He was like, never a ham star or a ham and cheese sandwich.
Well, I kind of made that joke. We'll tell the audience why, because I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago about the Kia Soul.
Right.
And T-Minus was like, what the hell are you talking about? What the hell's a ham star?
I didn't know, because I'm not in touch with any of that corny shit you like.
Right.
Or you just don't watch cable television.
He said right. Right.
That was his sarcastic right. As in,
yes.
asshole.
As normal, yeah.
He's like, right.
Jerk off.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so from there, how do you progress into the professional world?
Well, I mean, at that point, everything was so small, so you basically knew every big thing that happened from that point on.
So it's a very young sport.
Absolutely. I mean, this like I said, that was like the second or third event. The one I showed up to was the second or third event that had ever happened on the East Coast, in a scenario like that where it was actually legal and everybody could just go out and have a good time and not worry about being busted by the cops or anything like that. So from there, it just progressed. They had events every month. I would drive down. Obviously, from that point on, I was at every single event. I was still practicing at home when I could. At that point, I was branching out even further, because my skills progressed. And you need to find bigger locations. You're going faster. You want to try second gear. You want to try third gear. You want to start using the e-brake. All these different things start coming into play. So you have to find bigger areas and get more speed to really start challenging yourself. So all those things were all coming into play, and hitting all the events, everything started expanding from there. The second season of drifting, there were more events popping off where there was demo scenarios. Drifting was starting to get notarized. There was purses in some areas. So it was just a natural progression from there. The second year, I finally upgraded my car and put an SR20 in it, which is a turbo car, so I had like 200 horse at the wheels. And that meant my bank account was getting sucked dry because I was burning off a ton more tires and everything else.
What's most important for a drift car?
I mean, yeah. So to start off,
is it horsepower? Is it the tires, the rear, the tranny.
It's really, I mean, it's everything.
Everything works together?
It's everything. But, I mean, what you want to start with is obviously just
suspension,
and then a differential. I mean, you can weld a differential back in that time in 2002, 2003. I mean, we didn't know what a spool was or to weld spider gears on the open diff and a 240, which would have saved me $1,000. And I could have went out and bought something else huge for the car, like a bucket seat, a steering wheel, and harnesses. So anyway, so I had a legit diff and all that, and what you want to do is suspension, a diff, and then a seat and harness. You got to keep yourself safe, and you want to bounce around the seat as you're transitioning from side to side while you're drifting, and then from there, you don't need power. I mean, you just need to learn the techniques. Like I used to do.
It's just seat time.
I would just spend all my money on, since I had to travel pretty far down to Jersey for events or to New York or wherever they were at the time. Just travel money, fuel, gas, tolls, and then just tires. I mean, you're going to go through 10 tires on a good day at a good event where you get a lot of track time. So for that, dude, it was. I mean, that's where all my money went, and then. I would, if I came to a head where I needed to upgrade the car to get to the next level, I would have to sit out a couple events. And then, had the car be off the street. I wouldn't be driving it. It was also my daily driver at the time as well.
And this was a point where there were no sponsors available. It was a young sport. So there was nothing really out there per se.
Exactly. Yeah. There was no money. There was no sponsors. There wasn't even any discounts. And half the people you called as a young kid to try to get discounts were like, "The hell is?"
But they were like, "LOL."
What is drifting? Yeah. Exactly. So. So it was a long time ago. It was back when everything started.
Mad skeptics like Seth. Like when I would first hit Seth with drifting, he was like, "Eh."
Or aliens.
I could do without it.
Or aliens.
Yeah. But what's funny is that now he likes drifting. So maybe we're making some leeway. Maybe he'll be into aliens.
I still don't like aliens.
Dude, honestly, if you get abducted, I'm going to fucking throw a crazy party in Times Square.
Oh, that's nice.
And I'm going to have Ryan come and
if they held me for ransom,
in your fucking spiker.
If they held me for ransom, would you hook me up?
Fuck no. No, you are done. You can tell them all about your skepticism. I really didn't believe you guys existed. Can you just let me rock?
Oh, boy. All right, so back to...
But we should mention that when I did tell you about drifting and I introduced you to Ryan and you kind of got into it, you were like, this is pretty cool. And you bought a car.
I did. I said that before.
And you built it out in the whole nine.
Yeah, I started to, yeah. And then... I kind of got away from it because, I mean, I get easily distracted, but it was...
As we all do.
You got other things to do,
As we all do.
It was definitely cool. As a lot of our listeners know, they might not know about our little drifting adventure a couple of months ago with the Spiker.
Oh, right.
Which
we did
cool.
for YouTube.
But, I was going to ask you, what is the most unique vehicle you've ever drifted?
Man, I have to say your car, the Spiker, man. That's definitely... I want to say I fully drifted it. We did some donuts in a parking garage, but it was definitely some car control involved in that.
I'm not about to let you take it on.
I know. Understandable.
Car control? Seth shit himself. He was like, that pole was really fun.
Also, mid-engine car definitely makes it more difficult to
concrete,
drift.
Which you couldn't get.
I did try drifting the Ford GT. And that was probably the most difficult car I've ever tried to slide sideways and actually stay in control of. Getting ahead of those things is so difficult just because of the pivot point and from the weight. One, it wants to keep the rear end momentum just keep going around,
planted,
so you spin out. Or the breakaway point of that is so small that if you don't hit it absolutely perfectly, then you're either gripped up going straight again in the wrong direction you want to go, or you're spun out off in the dirt and you're screwing up some $5,000, $10,000 paint job on the thing.
Right.
Minimum.
What else? What other kind of crazy cars have you drifted?
Dude, the craziest cars I've drifted are actually my own. Like where the FRS at this point is with a Stroke 2 JZ making 850 horsepower at the wheels.
So let's talk about that car. Your car today that you're using in this season for 2015 Formula Drift is a Toyota Scion FRS that is completely modified. You can give us a small list of the mods, like the main stuff, which you were saying before.
Yeah, I mean, there's been no stone unturned on this chassis, and everything was done. Nameless Performance got into their hands this year and just I mean, they re-engineered everything within like 5 weeks' time. It was super, super huge undertaking for them to do, and they knocked it out of the park. I mean, so the basic setup is, there's a WiseFab front and rear kit on a car. The rear is to help with the bump steer, and the front is to get that massive WiseFab steering angle, so you can try to do backwards entries into turns, and it just looks flashy and it looks awesome. That's what drifting's all about. The setup is 2JZ, stroked with a 3.4 liter Brian Crowder kit. 10-to-1 compression ratio. The valve train is all super tech, bigger valves.
Pretty high compression
Brian
for a turbo
cams.
car.
It's big, but I mean these days with the engine management, running a Motec M150 tuned by John Reed, who's like one of the world-renowned tuners.
Right, he's like the man for Motec.
He tunes all of the underground racing Lamborghinis.
Oh, does he?
Makes all the engine harnesses for them. Like he's super, super legit.
So he can launch the space shuttle from his living room.
From his living room. Well, that's the funny joke we have with John Reed, because he's always on remote helping us with any issues we have and fine-tuning the tune. So
awesome.
He's always in his hotel room in his underwear, and he's logged into my computer and changing the anti-lag system maps or the fuel map or timing or anything. So it's actually funny that you can do that these days, and in just with the upgrades in engine management, it allows you to run 30 psi at 10 to 11-to-1 compression ratios, making 850 at the wheels.
It's a monster.
Let's not forget to talk about that gnarly ass SMG you got in there now.
Yeah, so
a real SMG.
So from day one, not day one, but we'll say almost day one, when I learned about drifting, the biggest thing was in Japan was a D1 championship.
Right.
And Kuma Kubo, who owns Ebisu Circuit, he had in his S15 a Hollinger RD6S sequential 6-speed transmission.
Which was like unheard of. Nobody has the money for that.
I didn't know what it was. I just knew, holy crap, all he's doing is pushing it forward and pulling it back to change gears. I'm like, that's a sequential? Wow. And then you buy more of those DVDs, and you find little tidbits here and there that you can figure out how exclusive this transmission is. Come to find out, it's not really exclusive. It just costs a shitload of money.
Right. I think Quaife was selling them way back in the days, and they were like $60K.
I don't know about $60K.
You're kidding me.
But the Hollingers aren't that much. The Hollingers cost about $20,000, and it's arguably one of the strongest sequentials that you can get for the cost. So for a turbo car, we went. The last couple of years, we had a 4-speed dog box and a quick change rear end to try to dial in the gear ratios around the track. And for a turbo car, not having the same amount of torque and horsepower that the V8s do, it would create a situation where we'd always be in between gears somewhere, and it wouldn't be perfect. So when I got some better funding, I decided it was definitely time to upgrade to 6 gears. Obviously, you want that to be a sequential transmission, since you'd be shifting more. And then we went to a fixed rear end, so we wouldn't have to do any gear changes. And just based on the data that we had for the last 2 or 3 years on the tracks that we ran with the car, we just dialed in the gear ratios that are in the Hollinger itself to give us the best scenario. So now I have 6 gears. The power band is way better. We're running the VVTi engine now, which makes which is
Toyota's version of VTEC.
Exactly. Right? So you can dial in the intake cam timing a little bit better, and it gives you about 40-50 more torque off the bottom end, which is huge for a turbo engine, as anybody who drives a turbo car knows.
Right.
Yeah. So with all that, I mean, the setup is phenomenal, and working with BC Racing suspension this year and WiseFab, everything is just kind of getting dialed in, and the car is great, man. It's the best it's been. And
so how many miles per gallon do you get?
We're running a VP, the C85, which is an ethanol-based fuel. And for people that don't know, it takes 30% more ethanol to burn to make the same amount of horsepower or energy that gasoline does. So you need bigger injectors, you need stronger fuel pumps.
This is like one massive science project.
It is, dude. It really is. But I mean, once you understand all the fundamentals, it's pretty standard. And then beyond that is definitely where the science comes into play with the tuning involved.
Spares of everything.
We have spares of almost everything. Like, I can't buy a spare Hollinger because those things are 20, 25 grand.
Right.
But we have like spare rear end, spare axles, spare all the spare control arms, spare suspension. We're going to have a spare engine soon, which is pretty serious. A big thank you to Vigilant Motorsports and Brian Crowder for setting us up with spare parts to be able to put that stuff together.
Awesome.
That's important. I mean,
Dude,
for any racing team or any type of sport, even.
Do you have to have
To
spares?
have a spare.
Seth, you know what they got? Spare tires.
Really? So you have like
about
you have-
40 of them.
You have like a donut? You can put a donut on the car?
Yeah, he's a cop also.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, running at the level that we're running at Formula Drift, it definitely requires a massive investment, not only in this insane car that you're trying to compete with, but also on the back end, you need all these spares because everything is so high strung in these cars these days that who the hell knows? I mean, as long as your motor's put together right and it's inspected properly throughout the season, and you don't have any anomalies that grenade the thing, then you'll make it. You should make it through a season with an engine with proper maintenance.
What about trannies?
And then trannies, I don't know. My first year running a Hollinger, but they're rated for 800 plus horsepower in the V8
and like
supercars.
tons of abuse, right?
For like
Which just came to the United States. Do you know that?
No.
They're doing it in that Formula One track. If I'm
a couple
not
years ago they
mistaken.
did it first.
A couple years.
Yeah, but it was more. It wasn't an actual points round, I believe. I think it was just an exhibition.
But now it's judged. It's the race series out of Australia,
Oh, okay.
and they run V8 supercars. They're called.
it's the biggest. It's like NASCAR
Holdens?
here. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, their drivers are all making millions of dollars. It's one of the biggest. It's their biggest motorsport that they have
Absolutely.
over in Australia, and it's also massive all over the world. Just in the U.S., it's not extremely well known.
Yeah, but it'll get there, I'm sure.
Just like
Yeah.
everything does. Eventually.
Exactly.
Our music,
NASCAR trumps
our
everything.
music takes forever to get to other places, and all sports take forever to get here.
It goes both ways.
That's true.
But question for you in Formula D: is there some sort of regulations on the cars, or inspections, or safety? What's involved in that? Because not all cars are equal. It's not like
Right.
Indy or
Yeah,
or
I mean,
anything like that.
the safety ratings are all. They're all based on what we hit for speeds and stuff like that, and what could potentially happen on the track. Everything gets more strict every year, which is good. So last year they implemented us running the Hans device, which I was a big fan and advocate for. Once you get used to it, you get the 9-inch tether strap. It allows you to move your neck in plenty of movement that you need
Right.
to use for
It's
drifting, and
basically
not
required
any
for
more,
drifting,
any
sure.
less. Yeah, exactly. But this year, something that they implemented, which is definitely good for safety, which I'm not a super fan of yet, is the also the Hans the bolster seats, where it kind of cradles the side of your head, and it definitely limits you to what you can see.
It's got to limit your
So
peripheral
I'm
vision
almost-
a lot.
yes.
Yeah.
Problem is almost finding myself trying to crouch out of the seat to be able to see beyond those bolsters on the side, because your
Which
peripherals,
you need for tandem driving.
yeah, which your peripherals are being skewed from.
So almost like a World Rally Championship Recaro, that type of seat?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. They run even more stringent.
Right, but they're ready to
safety
like flip over 65 times.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, into trees. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, our
Tip it
safety
back over
ratings
and
aren't
keep
up like that, but yeah, they're implementing a lot, which is good. Just a couple of things that I guess we're gonna have to get used to and make changes to in the future. Maybe sit further back behind towards the back seats or the rear axle. To give yourself more forward room to be able to see out the
Or
windows.
maybe rear view mirrors will come back into play in a big way. No?
No, you don't have time to look
He's
at
like,
that.
we're done with that shit.
Anything with the actual car, like you're not allowed to use certain engines, brakes, anything like that.
So it's pretty unlimited. There's strict rules in some areas. You're allowed to run any engine manufacturer and any engine you want to put in there. Horsepower is unrated. The only fuel restriction is methanol, just because it burns the hell out of your eyes, and it's just a pretty dirty fuel for the people on the grid. Beyond that, it's mainly suspension stuff. You can only move your suspension points up to 2 inches from the factory location on the inboard location on the subframe. You can only cut out so much on the subframe. So we're like limited to having to utilize the factory subframes, front and rear in the cars. as well as parts. We can't move the firewall to move the engines back that require them to be properly set up behind the front axle as much as possible. So a lot of the V8s and stuff on some cars are over the front axle to the point where it almost sucks, because then you have to try to make up for all this extra weight over the front axle that you could easily just move the firewall and move the driver back further to make up for. So now, it creates just a lot more of money, engineering, and a headache for the fabricators and crew chiefs on the teams. But so stuff like that, Formula D wants to retain, for the simple fact that they still want this to be looked at as a sport that is still touchable by entry-level people.
Right.
Which I get and I understand. I'm not super fan of that, because we have a very good amateur series where drivers can come up through the ranks and get a license to compete in Formula Drift. And also it kind of prohibits to what some of these teams and potentials could utilize as an extra business by making tubular subframes that fixes the suspension geometry in these different chassis that you can buy off the shelf, and then these lower tier teams would have this access to this stuff that the bigger teams have to spend extra money on now to make happen regardless. So you have this kind of thing where, there's pros and cons to it all, but the way I see it is to further this sport and make it more interesting to the fans. We need to open up the rule book and let the fabricators and engineers go crazy building some more wilder builds.
Give them a little more leadway.
Exactly.
Interesting. So now, like we said before, now you're using a Scion. What other cars have you used in the past?
I've driven quite a bit. In competition, I've driven quite a bit, and just outside of competition, I've driven a ton of different cars. Started off in the Mustang. I can't really say much, because my skills weren't very high when I drove that car, so I can't really relate to it that much anymore.
Well, in your pro career.
So I've driven mainly 240s. It's been a lot of 240s, which is a common thing, obviously, in drifting. Pontiac Solstice, one of the newer chassis Camaro.
So between the Solstice, Camaro, Scion, 240, what is your preference?
The best setup car that I have driven was 2009 Pontiac Solstice with a 450 horsepower Ecotec engine. And a 6-speed.
LS, right?
No, just
it wasn't LS.
No, it was the Ecotec, 4-cylinder.
Oh, 4-cylinder.
The Ecotec,
Yep.
like what's in my Slingshot.
The
actually.
Cobalt engines.
Yeah, the Cobalt.
I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So that, making 450 with a sequential transmission. And at that time, Formula D, there wasn't a tire to weight ratio rule either. So we were able to run big tires in a super light car. And dude, it was phenomenal. The thing did exactly what I wanted it to do every time, and it just felt like you could steer it and put it wherever you wanted.
Pretty small car too.
Really small car. You're sitting on the rear axle
Yeah.
almost. It was like a 94-inch or 95-inch wheelbase.
Wow.
And the track width on it was also massive. So it's like you're trying to drift a square rather than a rectangle. So it makes it, definitely, you have to be up on what your inputs are. You basically, there's no neutral point like there are in other cars. If you're sliding sideways, sometimes you have time to react to something, where in this car, you had to either be on the gas, on the brakes, or on the handbrake, doing something to steer this thing sideways. Otherwise, it would just want to drive straight.
Interesting. But so far this year, are you impressed with the Scion?
Dude, I'm very impressed. This is the third season and the third version of the car. And things have just progressed so much with the chassis, switching over to nameless performance. So it's just been great. We didn't get a ton of test time, and we've only kind of touched the tip of the iceberg as far as what is going to end up happening to that chassis. But for so far, it's
for what
the
it
best
is, it's pretty
been.
dialed in.
It's the best it's been so far. I can finally steer it and drive it the way I want, and now it's a matter of just fine tuning everything.
Congratulations
and all the small
on
details.
your
Yeah,
podium.
I was just going to bring that up.
Thank you.
How many events so far in the 2015 season have there been?
Just one.
Just the one, and you
Just
took
Long Beach.
and you took a podium on
So yeah,
the first one.
we finished third. We're like 20 feet away from battling for the finals, but
you definitely would have won that had your car not had a slight mechanical
Failure.
failure.
Yeah. So
Right.
we end up the half shafts and the diff ended up breaking just outside the differential splines. So we didn't know that until we thought it was a ring and pinion gear, and it's just an unfortunate scenario. We couldn't fix it in time, and you only get 5 minutes when your car breaks in between rounds. And
literally, they have a guy there.
Very
that times
generous.
it.
Yeah.
Like he's on the clock and he's like, okay, 10, 9, 8. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you have the steward there. I mean, so the pressure's on, and most of the time, the things that break aren't a differential or a half shaft. So it's just something that we had as something new we're running on the car this year that we hadn't put to the true test until that point. Yeah. So something that we are going to have sorted out for the next round, and hopefully won't have anything else that breaks in the drivetrain from
this
here
is your
on out.
year. That's it. It's a wrap. You're going to win this. We'll
see. I mean, everybody's high. Focus is high. The team morale, everything that's happening. Everybody wants to win so bad, and that was the first time the FRS is on a podium and forming the drift. So we're definitely pumped about that, and definitely hope to be the first ones with a win as well.
Who's your biggest nemesis?
I don't know, man. The nemesis is usually my homies. It's usually like Vaughn or Chris or something, because I drive with them all the time and are so good, and their cars are sorted so well. So
and for our audience, that's Forsberg and
my Drift Alliance homies.
JR.
Yeah.
Better known as. Yep.
The guys that I grew up drifting with since 2003. Right. In the very beginning stages. So
basically, he's saying that nobody else is a competitor. Not to put you on the spot.
No, there's a bunch of other dudes.
Suck wind. And,
it's just cool when I get to drive against them. I know it's just gonna be heads up, man. Like there's gonna be absolutely no bullshit on the track. There's gonna be no left foot braking to slow down and try to bait somebody into making mistakes or any crap like that.
So it's just like legitimate driver talent.
Straight up, drive as hard as you possibly can, and whoever's better that day is gonna win.
There's a huge level of respect between you all, and that's
win on your own merit.
Absolutely, yeah. There's never any bullshit. It's always just let the best man win, and. Sucks because they usually beat me, which is bullshit.
That's all right, because you Tuercked them on your show.
Yeah, tell our audience about Tuercked. We keep hearing, T-Minus keeps saying Tuercked. We got Tuercked, we got this, we got that.
Yeah, so
what is Tuercked?
It became this thing where, so me and my brothers are pretty known for breaking everybody's shit, unfortunately. It's just like, I don't know, when we utilize stuff, we utilize it to its full potential, and it usually can't handle it. So
yeah, I know. My element is like crying.
So stuff ends up failing and breaking and that kind of thing. So they started using it as our last name as a metaphor for that.
Yeah, they kind of coined the term, like if you've broken something, you've been Tuercked.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that kind of spilled over and becoming even more so, and relating that to almost every scenario when something negative happens.
Right, and then
which is bullshit.
Right, Network A stepped up,
and then I had all these video ideas back when I was sponsored by Red Bull for 2 years, and then they decided to pull out of drifting, and along with that went the sponsorship. So I had all these.
Red Bull's not involved in drifting anymore.
Red Bull's not involved in drifting anymore. No, not in the USA, anyways. They're very involved in other areas of the world and almost every other part of the world, which is
thank you so much, Red Bull.
Which is so anyway, but yeah, it was great while it lasted. But I had all these ideas, assuming that I would be able to have some of the things sorted out, and it's just the relationship didn't last as long as I had hoped. So my manager Jacob, who's very in tune with everything that's going on, and knowing that content creation is one of the the biggest, most emerging things that you can do as far as athletes are concerned, and just everything in general in the world right now. Everything's going digital, so we took a lot of these ideas and we brought them to Network A, and our friend Annie over there, who is a huge advocate for the show for us, and the one who pushed it through the higher ups to give us a shot. And it was basically them just kind of just rolling the dice on us. We got a decent budget at that time for
just
some
like
videos.
Any startup, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and we knew this is it. This is like the time to knock this out of the park and really invest everything that we had into making sure this was a success, because we knew nothing like this had been done yet in motorsports, and it could be something really huge.
Also, not in Network A. I mean, they do like pro surfing and pro BMX.
Exactly. So that was another thing it was good, because it's all relative.
Right.
Considering I look at this as the action sport of motorsports. So being on a channel that is mainly surfing and action sports related, it made sense. But they didn't have a motorsports outlet, so that became us, and that was.
So it was a big chance for them.
It was a big chance for them. So we did it. We filmed. we did 7 episodes that year. Actually, we signed on for 6, and then I had another idea to go to Team O'Neill, and they were down for the idea, so we signed on for one extra episode.
Right, and that's the rally school in Vermont?
Yep, New Hampshire.
And you did that with Bucky
Lasek.
Yeah, dope.
So we filmed all these shows on a pretty limited budget, but it was enough to get everything done and do it well. We pulled a lot of favors, had Forsberg on the show. He came up and just invest his time, and we had a lot of other people do the same, just knowing that this was something that would potentially pay off in the future. So
the show is basically drifting.
It is. It's just it's the lifestyle. It's more of the lifestyle around drifting. It's not anything that's competition related besides the show, the games and stuff that we try to implement and have fun with. So besides that, it's more of just partly travel, partly the experiences involved.
Almost like reality shorts.
Yeah, I mean a lot of that. When we released the first episode, which was Game of Drift with Forsberg, it became a huge hit, and it had like 500,000 views the first week, and we're all
which was unheard of.
That's kind of weak.
But it was like unheard of in Network A. They just weren't seeing these kind of numbers from their other shows, right?
It was phenomenal. So yeah, we kind of rocketed straight up to being one of the top shows on the Network A channel, and being a no-name kind of motorsport in space, and them not even having motorsport outlet was huge. So everything just kicked off, man. It was great.
It all kind of fell into place,
dude. Absolutely, like all the hard work was above and beyond what we had all anticipated and expected. So it was really good all around. And now we're talking about the 4th season right now, about the ideas and concepts and what we're gonna do. So we're stoked. It's been 3 years running. We have over 10 million views, and
you've traveled to a bunch of countries.
I've gotten to travel all around the world in the last 3 years. Yeah,
I remember that. That was awesome.
Stayed in the Hobbit with Lord of the Rings.
Well, I wanted to, because all that stuff, it's all right there.
In New Zealand, yeah.
We Red Bull treated us really well down in New Zealand for the Drift Shifters event, so that was phenomenal. But yeah, I wanted to stay another week or 2 weeks or a full year just to experience everything that country had.
So they shipped your car there and all?
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Red Bull, it was a big deal. We got the invite from Mad Mike, and Red Bull shipped the cars. 4 guys from America went, and then a lot of Australian, New Zealand drivers, as well as some Japanese drivers and some other guys from Europe. So that was a phenomenal event and a great episode of Tuerck.
And you did sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh no, Seth.
I'm going to give you the floor.
Seth, you're so generous, bro. Unbelievable. Yeah.
Age before beauty.
If only
Go ahead.
you guys could see the look on his face.
Age before beauty. Go right ahead.
Yeah. Wait before age. There you go. Your experience in Estonia, didn't you win the championship there?
I won a round of Drift All-Stars in Estonia. So that was actually it was a really cool trip for me, because we get September off from Formula D every year in between rounds, because from August, which is the Texas event, all the way till October, which is the last event, Irwindale, there's a big gap in between. So I usually try to fill that with travel trips every year. And last year we filled it with making quite a few different episodes for Tuerck. So I got to do a motorsport festival in Germany called Reisbrennen. So we went and filmed a part of an episode there, which was phenomenal, super fun time. Just laid back, super rad, big circuit track, and just got to throw it out and have a blast and meet a bunch of cool people. From there, we went and we went to Scotland, to Edinburgh with the Fuckhouse crew, and we got to smash some BMWs around there.
Seth's like, what house?
Okay. I don't know if he said slut or fuck, but either one, I'm game.
We went and vacationed in. I'm gonna forget now.
Didn't you do like Holland and Amsterdam and all that?
We did Amsterdam the year before, and we hung out there for a few days. But this year, the previous year, we went to. God damn it! I'm gonna forget the goddamn name. What the hell's the name of that town?
I'm not sure.
Latvia?
Fuckville?
Was it Latvia or was it? It was. Wait, did you go to Ukraine?
Well, bringing up the negative situation.
Because we need to hear that story.
The negative deal, but what is that town over in Europe that just had the shooting for no reason?
I have no fucking clue.
Fuck. I mean, I know it's all over the U.S.
Seth is a wealth of information.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Anyway, I'm going to switch gears.
Yes.
I'm going to switch gears.
Wait, we should hear this story about Russia, but go ahead.
About Russia?
Not Russia. What happened with the police That they were like,
yeah,
tell them that.
So we did a road trip from Estonia to Latvia. So we were in Estonia for the Drift All-Stars round, and it went phenomenal. I was driving a Fail Crew S13, and we ended up winning the round, which is awesome. Everybody got some champagne. We all got to party. And then we do a road trip from Estonia down to the city of Riga in Latvia the following day. And it took us like 13 hours to drive like 200 miles.
Hey, you guys should find out where the gas pedal is.
I know. Well, one thing, it took us like 6 hours to load the goddamn trailer up. I don't know why, but we're all pretty hungover from the Podium before. But we get on the road, and we meet up with another guy and to cruise on down together. And we end up getting pulled over for whatever reason. I think the trailer lights didn't work or something. And we're still in Estonia at this point. Estonia police are very straight. So we had no seatbelts on. There's a seatbelt law there. That was an issue. So they pull the driver, who didn't have his license on him, out of the car. And then my friend from Russia, Max, the main guy from Fail Crew, he gets out, and he's actually very good at negotiating and leveraging a situation. And he went out and started doing his thing, and he ends up, we're all in the back hanging out watching footage with our friend Lucas, and he opens the door, and the cops are right there, and he's like pointing at us. He's like, Americans. And then he shuts the door real quick, and we're like, what the hell is going on? So about 5 more minutes goes by, and our friend Andy's the main shooter, editor,
Andy LaPuca from Shoot First Media.
Yep. He updates us. Hey guys, quick update. The police are gone, and so is everybody else. So we jump out of the van. We're like, what in the hell is going on? Sure enough, the cops are gone. Max is gone. Our driver's gone, and we didn't know what the hell was going on. So we're left here on the side of the street, and we're just kind of sitting around wondering what our next move is going to be. And we're not worrying about it too much. We feel like it's going to get sorted one way or the other, but we didn't know if they had gone to jail and we had to bail them out or not. So about 15 minutes goes by, and they end up coming back with the police, and they're all screaming and laughing, and it was a big joke. And it turns out that they just had to go track down the other van to get our driver Igor's license from them. But what they did is they talked the police into pulling them over and not telling them, pulling them over for absolutely no reason, not telling them what was going on. And then our friend Max jumps up to the window and scares the shit out of him, and he didn't know what was going on. Anyway, they grab the license, come back, we take photos, and we head down to Latvia.
But this whole time you're still on the side of the road wondering what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, we didn't know.
The cops come back, and they're staying with Ryan Tuerck, let's take a picture.
Like they even knew who I was. They had no idea. But
That's funny.
The good thing, the saving grace was that the drift event was nationally publicized.
Oh.
So most of the people that
So they
were
definitely
into
knew who you
motorsports
were.
knew what.
Yeah, they knew.
Well, they knew what the event was, not necessarily me in general, but they knew that there was drifting happening. So that was definitely a good thing for our case, pleading with the police.
Interesting. It's a good story. So let's go into a couple of things that a lot of the listeners, I'm sure, want to know, and a lot of people that are trying to break into the whole drift scene. Number one, I'm sure a lot of guys will say, all the time to you, they corner you, a lot of fans, how do I get through, how do I become a pro, and, how do I get a sponsor? And, I know you've been through, numerous sponsors, so you're pretty well-versed in all that jazz. So why don't you tell us a little about, advice that you would give somebody who has, I've seen so many guys out there with Nissan 240s, with one JZ or two JZ engine, or they put an LS, right? That's a common thing. They put the LS engines in them, and they do all sorts of bits to it, and they really want to jump into the drifting world.
So it's definitely it's a tough thing to try to give a direct answer. There's not one right answer for that scenario or one right piece of advice. It's all.
Where should they start? Should they start going to club events or?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one thing, you can't get sponsored with something that you don't already have. So you need some talent, you need some skill, you need a car, and you need to go to the right events that sponsors can actually get some return on investment. So the thing that people don't understand or don't understand from a sponsor's perspective, you got to think in their sense on why would they sponsor you. They're looking for an investment on why they're going to give you free parts or give you money or give you a discount. They don't want to necessarily just see a sticker on the car. They want to see that you are representing the company well.
And you're producing something.
you're networking when you're at events. You are a good person to come up to and get an education to even the people that know less than you do, or need an education on cars in general. So say you get a part, say it's a new fuel pump for the car. Number one thing you got to do, you got to know what brand it is. You got to know what model pump it is. You got to know the benefits, and you got basically have to be a salesman for these people. You're running their product on the car, and you got to basically
So in essence, you're representing that company.
and
You're speaking on
endorsing.
behalf.
You got to
For sure.
endorse that product. So, I mean, that's basically what you're supposed to do as a sponsored person. Now, getting those sponsors is a lot more difficult because not everybody wants to give up things for free. Drifting these days has been around for quite a while, so a lot of the guys that have sponsors have been doing it for a long time. So
They
you're
kind of cornered the market and the sponsors.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, you know,
So really, I guess
it's not so new anymore.
Maybe a new talent or a new, new blood might be able to command some of their attention.
Right. You have to come. You have to do the events, or work the path that is available to you. So whatever region of the U.S. or the world that you're in, you have to do the local series. You have to, get the right parts for your car first, and go out, practice, get your skills together, and start doing proper events that actually get some notoriety that you can put on a resume or in an email, and sponsors are going to know what that series is because it has some recognition. Or you're going to be at these local events, and there's actually going to be people that work for some of these sponsored companies out there. And hey, a lot of sponsorships are being at the right place at the right time and networking with the proper people. And even, I mean, to even dive backwards a little bit further, one of the things that my dad taught me, which is probably one of the most one of the biggest things that stuck in my mind as far as working business and sponsorships and stuff like that. He told me and my brothers at a very young age, he's like, when you're at the track and you're doing this and doing that and talking to these people, you have no idea who they are. If you've never met this person before, you don't know if he's the CEO of a company or if he is just an employee that's pulling, that's in a shipping department.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Ever.
Yeah.
Absolutely ever. Everybody deserves respect, no matter who they are, what they are, in every sense of the word. So when you're at these events, you have to be. You don't have to be. I mean, you want to be yourself. You want to be a likable guy. You want to be someone that people enjoy hanging out with, just like your friends do.
And honestly, that's why you have a tremendous fan following, is because of how you treat people.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just fun. For me, this whole sport is based on fun and meeting people and all around the world at this point. I have friends pretty much everywhere, which is such an incredible feeling.
Me too. I got Facebook.
Have you ever done anything else besides drifting?
Just motocross. I mean,
have you ever had any other jobs?
Yeah, I mean, I work for my old man who has a steam cleaning, pressure washing business. So for me, through all the years of motocross and drifting, I was working for my father.
I need my house power washed.
Well, I got a guy you can call, all right?
Want to come over? I won't post it on Instagram, I swear.
So yeah, I mean, that was my main, that's what I did. That's how I bought parts for the car. That's how I traveled to the events. That's how I made my living, was working for my old man, who I was definitely in a cool situation where my dad did provide me with a scenario that allowed me to succeed in what I wanted to do, because he would let me off work to go to these events if I needed 3 days, 1 day to drive and 1 day to compete and 1 day to drive back. I'd have it. And I just have to plead my case, say, Dad, this is why this is going to be such a stepping stone for me in what I'm trying to do to get to the next level. And he'd be like, he's the one who got me and my brothers into motocross. So my dad was absolutely phenomenal, and definitely one of the biggest persons in my corner of or the reasons why I've had the success that I've had. Just because he's an understanding person who wants to see his son succeed with whatever they do.
Yeah, but I think it's also important to bring up that, and I don't know why I didn't bring up earlier when we were talking about, you building your cars and whatnot. You still, to this day, are very involved with breaking down your car, building it again, rebuilding it. You're not like...
I think we mentioned this in one of our other podcasts, like you're hands-on.
Yeah, he's not like some celebrity driver that just flies to the track, picks up the car, drives it, gets back on the plane with the champagne. You're like hardcore, change your own transmission.
Well, at least he doesn't do that yet.
Yeah. Hopefully, I don't. That won't be my time in a sport.
Right, but like that's what a
after
Formula
me,
One
but-
driver does. You know, he just flies to the event, gets in the car, drives it, leaves.
Right.
You're very hands-on. You're very like.
Yeah, I mean,
let
since
me
day
make
one,
this happen. Right.
everybody in drifting is basically DIY. It's not, you get to the newer crop of drivers, and some of them aren't, but most drivers have all gotten to where they are because they know how to turn a wrench and work on their own cars, and for the simple fact that it's out of necessity. I mean, a lot of the drivers in industry just can't support everybody to be able to hire mechanics and hire a professional race team to engineer and build cars like this. So the drivers, it comes back on them to be able to get their cars ready and prepped and built and everything else for the events to go and compete and or just have fun. I mean, grassroots, basically everybody's wrenching on cars.
Right, and because grassroots is so big these days, they're handing out sponsorships less and less and less and less. Like it was.
No, I
maybe,
mean, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. I
like
would
tire
say
sponsorships.
Tire sponsorships, yeah, are harder to
That
get.
one's
But I
rough.
mean,
Yeah.
part sponsorships and just getting discounts in general from even just companies that sell
Like
that
Pep
wholesale
Boys?
and and retail.
Like Pep Boys?
yeah. No, like in Juku Racing and
Right.
240SX
ISIS,
Motoring, people
yep.
like that. They're always really good at sponsoring the bread and butter, which is drifting, and
Right.
And giving good people good discounts who are competing and flying a flag. So,
Yeah, no, I meant-
so that stuff's really cool. But yeah, I know what you mean.
I meant
Like
specifically tires. Yeah.
tires are difficult, man. But if you're
I mean, it's the most disposable part on the
Exactly.
car.
And they're so
Yeah.
expensive,
It's
right?
expensive.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
gonna trash them. Every,
But I mean, the best
how,
thing.
How
that-
often do you go through tires?
It depends. I mean,
Is it by
so
lap or is
I
it-
run Maxxis tires, and their tires actually have some of the meatiest, like biggest tread depth on a tire. So we're usually going through maybe 4 laps before we change a pair of tires. And the other drivers,
LOL, 4 laps.
and the other drivers are most of the other tire manufacturers are all changing laps and are changing tires in 2 laps.
So it's about $250 a lap.
A little more.
Wow.
Only a little bit more.
Just a little more.
But they've, through, Ryan driving and the other drivers, they have developed tires specifically for drifting.
Yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of the manufacturers have just switched over to our compound tires, where in the past, their highest performance tire was just one step down from an R compound, whereas now, I mean, just in the marketplace in general, has started calling for everybody just wants an R compound tire.
Right, and
no matter what the cost is, it's just that everybody wants a little bit more grip.
Contrary to popular belief, you actually need grip in order to drift correctly.
Well, to pick your speeds up, and especially during tandem, like if you're on a harder compound
Still don't know
tire,
how you guys do that? It's fucking insane.
Yeah, it is.
if you're on a harder compound tire and you're chasing somebody else that has an R compound or a bigger tire or a better set up car, it's a lot more difficult to try to stay with them, because basically what the judges are looking for is proximity and you staying as close as you possibly can to the other driver without hitting them.
Yeah.
Throughout the lap of the track.
Right, and it's nothing but like smoke in your face the entire time.
There's also that where you have to transition through the other guy's smoke, and
So
sometimes you
crazy.
get lost in the smoke. But usually by the tandem rounds,
it's
you
like
have
totally choreographed. It's like
It looks like
It really
yeah.
does.
It's like
It's,
Disney on ice.
it's like synchronized, cars.
you're relying on muscle memory at that point. When the tandem rounds come around, you've had a lot of practice time at that point on track to really remember what actions that you've been doing consistently throughout the weekend.
You ever get into an argument with anybody that hits you, clips you? I mean, does that occur between the drivers? Do they get pissed off like, you motherfucker, you ran me into the wall or something?
Not a ton. There's been a few altercations. Nothing that has ever gone
You ever get your ass kicked?
super aggressive. No, there has yet to be any fights in drifting as far as physical altercations. There's definitely been some.
I better stay out of the sport.
And just because all the drivers are, everybody is pretty straight up. There's not too much dirty tricks going on or brake checking. There are some. There's definitely some, but there hasn't been enough, and it hasn't been an issue big enough yet to cause that. I foresee that in the future for sure, as competition
gets
keeps
more
getting
competitive,
way more intense these days.
Yeah, because
And,
the horsepower numbers are going up too.
everything, man. Just
I mean, you
the
started
car.
out, like, what was Formula Drift when it first started out? Maybe like 300 horsepower, 400 horsepower?
When I first got into Formula Drift, I was in my 240. It was like the 4th year
So
I
it was
had
like
it.
200 horsepower.
It made 300 at the wheels on 15s, and 205 50 15s.
And what are you now at the wheels?
And now I'm at 850 horse.
At the wheels.
and the weight class I'm in calls for a 295 with
Soon
tire.
they're going to be drifting like UGR
Like,
Lambos.
yo, it's crazy.
2,000 horsepower, right?
It's seriously crazy. The steps that it's gone is absolutely it puts me in awe when you actually sit back and think about it.
You ever drive the Scion on the street and fuck with anybody?
I have actually, dude. In Long Beach.
He's psyched on this. He's like, yeah, I got this.
And not a crazy story, but in Long Beach, yeah, we always do this thing at the Pike, which is it's a bar restaurant that's actually owned by the drummer from Social Distortion, who he loves drifting and loves motorsports in general, and he's kind of taken us into his arms, and he's a great friend at this point. And so we always do a party there. The Hoonigans do a party there. The Drift Lions have done parties there in the past, and it's usually where everybody goes to celebrate at the end of the weekend, because it's it's only like 3 miles from the track from downtown. So we usually set up our cars out in the back lot before the weekend starts, and sometimes we get a police escort out there, which is really rad. So we get to drive the race cars through the Long Beach streets, and a few miles, just not doing burnouts or anything, nothing crazy, but it's just cool to have that effect and watch the expressions on everybody else's face. I put the anti-lag on to be kind of an asshole and cause a little bit of crap, but
That's not an asshole. That's a winner in my book.
It's just whatever. It's fun, dude. It was a smile on your face. It's something different,
Well, that's cool. Definitely. Yeah, you mentioned a word before, and a lot of people don't even know what it means or what it means to you. Hoonigan.
Yeah, Hoonigan is, dude. It's just an automotive lifestyle brand who makes clothing and creates a lot of content and gives a lot of opportunities to the guys involved with the brand.
But to be a Hoonigan, you are someone who does a burnout or a series of burnouts or creates tire smoke.
So it is a label for people as well?
I don't know if it's a label. I mean, I feel like it's just
like instead of a hooligan, it's a Hoonigan? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, maybe it's difficult for me to try to explain, but it's just basically, I don't know, I feel like people who have fun in an untraditional sense of the car world. Right, but in motorsports and drifting and just wanting to do outside the norm, which is, burnouts and racing.
It's such a widely used hashtag everywhere.
Now it is.
It
tremendous.
is, yeah.
But didn't Ken push it super hard with Gymkhana?
Yeah, I mean, Ken was he's the guy.
Innovator of it, yeah.
Absolutely.
And then Brian Scotto runs it?
Brian Scotto's the brand director and manager. And
Hurt.
And then our good buddy Hertrich.
Hertrich, yeah.
He handles a lot of the social media and athlete management stuff.
And he is good at video.
And he's killing it. Yeah, everybody they got a great team over there, and they're really awesome to work with. And everybody has such a forward-thinking, progressive mindset that it helps me out a lot. Just getting advice on where to take the marketing platform and where to go with there for video content creation and things like that.
Those just recent photos that you put up from Tony Harmer of your male modeling were exceptional.
Dude, the Hoonigan Special Trick line. It's definitely a dope collection. And
there's nothing you don't do. This guy has
I don't need some work on male modeling.
Pictures of him doing tricks with Christian Hosoi, and I'm just kidding, but he does all BMX tricks. There's nothing this guy doesn't do on two wheels or four wheels that isn't exceptional.
Or three. He's been on three.
Three.
The slingshot.
Yeah. Doing burnouts in a slingshot, dude.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Seth just wrapped his slingshot in carbon fiber, but with as a matter of fact, I have a picture here of it. And I gotta say, pretty awesome. Definitely the first one with it.
Yeah.
Definitely a rad car to drive. And thanks again for letting me do burnouts and donuts in that thing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, that's for sure. It wasn't so much fun for me watching all these burnouts in all my cars.
Curbs everywhere. Yeah. Everybody else is having fun.
Yeah, sure. At my expense. Yeah, no problem. It's all good. So anyway, we're going to try to wrap this up a bit, but, we usually do a little bit of a little bit of a sounding board on on the automotive world per se, and some of them we pick different topics, and I think we're gonna let you run with something, and I'm gonna ask you, what do you hate the most about Formula D. Is there anything that you hate about Formula D, and why, and what is it?
I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything that I absolutely hate. It's just things that I think need
What
to be...
pisses you off?
What pisses me off?
Seth, thank you so much for putting Ryan Tuerck on the spot.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Let's make him a little uncomfortable.
Let's just do drifting in general. Can we do drifting in general?
We can do whatever you want. We can pick any topic.
Let's talk about your clothing.
Let's
talk about
okay,
hipsters.
I'll start
Let's
it
talk
off.
about fucking aliens.
I'll start it off. I'll tell you what I don't like about people that think they are drifters.
Okay.
Because, I mean, look, I have the Exotic Car Club, Exotics Rally. And every once in a while, you get somebody that, that shows up in like a Nissan 240, and, they turn around and they think that they are a drifter. And all of a sudden, they come into a parking lot and they put the car sideways, and they can't pull they can't pull a full 360 or even a 180 for that matter. And all of a sudden, the car stalls. And you look at them, you're like, right, okay. So what was?
Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere, all right?
What was the point in that? But I mean, these people are like exhibitionists that it just doesn't cut it. So that that sometimes pisses me off. Or you get different people. They show up with different cars, and they put a decal on, and they think they're a race car driver.
I say, yeah, I understand what you mean. I think the biggest upset for me is when people do ask for advice, and I try to give them the best advice they can, and then they go and do the same thing that they were going to, regardless of asking.
Or they
me
do
question.
the opposite. Yeah,
right. They kind of dismiss you.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's the biggest frustrating thing, because you've already done it, you have the experience, you know what they should do, and the best way for them, whether they know it or not, and then it doesn't happen. So anyway, that's frustrating. And the other thing that I guess is it's frustrating. It's just other people just being naive to the sport and looking down upon it, thinking it's just a bunch of racers doing burnouts or something, when it's so much more than that. Our sport has come along in such a short amount of time in such a large way, and we're one of the most renowned digitally kind of content, just in the know with the millennials from a marketing standpoint than anything else. And people have followed this sport through and through, and we have just a massive fan base that started from nothing in such a short amount of years. So I think that's a little frustrating, is when you still kind of get those people that just look down on it and just are naive and are uneducated about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not that I was skeptical, but I didn't understand it.
Right.
And that's probably most of it. People need to be educated on what it's all about.
People need to have an open mind. I understand everybody has their own personality and traits and stuff like that, but I mean,
go see a Formula D event and then base your opinion.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. Don't judge it until you try
you really
it.
get a good
just,
sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to view it.
I mean, because his entry speeds are not like what you're seeing in like the grassroots events. Some of your entry speeds.
I mean, one of the easiest ways to put it into perspective is
100 miles an hour. Yeah.
Drive 100 miles on the well, don't drive 100 miles on the highway, but if at any point you're going 100 miles an hour, you're doing highway speeds. Think about that, and we're doing
pull the
we're doing
and
that
control it.
We're doing
Don't
that
just let it
sideways
slip,
within inches of walls and stuff like that.
I'm going to try that on the way
exciting.
home. You don't mind, right?
No, I don't mind. No, I'm taking the ferry home. You can take the highway.
All right,
let's try that.
You guys might want to let me drive.
Deal.
I'm down. Gabe should probably stop talking, because you're ruining this podcast, bro.
Okay. Oh shit, Gabe. Gabe's here.
I forgot you were here.
Yeah, I'm here.
He's starting his own company, Silent Lifestyle.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be the next podcast is going to be the Silent Podcast. We're just going to have silence for 1 hour, hosted by Gabe.
We're going to get Silent Bob and Gabe together.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to, I don't think we got to finish touching on is the sponsor scenario, and just when people needing to understand that you need to realize, what you need to put yourself in the company's perspective and look at yourself and why would they sponsor you. And that's the best way to usually put it. You have to be able to offer something to them, both at the track and from a marketing standpoint. And these days, it's so easy to market yourself with the social platforms out there like Facebook and Instagram.
And podcasts.
Exactly. Everybody has an outlet these days to market themselves for anything. And, it's basically the world is at your fingertips and what you want to do with it. And being a driver these days is it's harder than ever, but it's also easier than ever because you have these tools to be able to utilize who you are and what your brand can be and what you do.
Right, and they're all
in the
free.
world.
So I really, if you put your best foot forward and you grind, you can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. So, I guess we're going to pretty much wrap this up. We really appreciate your time. I know this is the busiest time of year for you.
Let's find out what's going on in your future. What's coming up this year? What can your fans look forward to?
That's what
So,
I was
yeah.
getting to. I appreciate
Well, I
that.
don't know what's going on in your head, bro. There's mind control.
Yeah.
Except you don't have any mind to control.
I'm frozen. So, Ryan, why don't you tell us a little about the rest of the season, where they can find information, and then tell us how to find you on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, those type of things, and then we'll get moving along.
Yeah, so get in the know. Basically, just hit me up on Instagram /Ryan Tuerck. Same with the Facebook /Ryan Tuerck. I post everything that I'm doing on there. Instagram, just the daily and just what's happening, where I'm going, and what's happening at the time. So any video content, all that stuff that's coming out. Next up is going to be heading to Hyperfest, which is the May 6th, I think. So I'm going to do that event and then head down to Atlanta for the next round of Formula Drift. And after that, I have some demo stuff coming up, and all the meanwhile, we're releasing Drift Garage on Network A, where me and Forsberg are rebuilding I'm rebuilding my missile car into a super nice, not so missile car, and then Forsberg is building a twin turbo 370Z, which is going to be a goddamn rocket ship, and so that's coming out bi-weekly on Network A with response videos in between, and in between all of that, we're also sorting out our plans for the fourth season of Tuerck, which I'm super pumped about. Going to be able to do some more traveling around the world and
maybe
seeing
you can
some
do
friends.
another New York episode.
Maybe another New York episode. We'll
That'd be
see.
cool.
We'll
That'd
see.
be cool.
That'd be cool.
We'd host something like that. Have some fun.
Yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah. That could be a blast.
I'm
Definitely.
sure Seth has another $400,000 car he'd love for you to rip up.
Well, if things work out.
So that's what I got going on, and just gonna try to just keep rolling with it, man. Just having a lot of fun and truly blessed with where I'm at in the sport, and just try to keep working my ass off and making things happen.
Well, it definitely shows, through your work and your work ethic and how much fun you have doing it. And that's what's great to see. It's always good to see people who excel at what they do while still having fun and maintaining, humility
Yeah.
and being grounded.
Right.
And
No chip on the shoulder, just having fun with life.
I just know the time that we've spent together, it's been so great. No,
Oh my God! Should I dim the lights, Seth?
no, we've always had a good time. We've had a chill time, and that's what's most important. That you keep
Yeah,
yourself
man. I mean, I enjoy every facet of what motorsports is, not just drifting. I just enjoy cars in general. From the exhaust fumes to the tire smoke to just the sounds of an insane stroked V8 engine or a crazy turbo inline six. Just every facet of motorsports is what I love. So it's pretty easy to get excited about what we do.
Well, thank you again for joining us today. We'll go around and everybody can plug themselves.
Do you want to thank Gabe for his commentary?
I'm going to get to Gabe.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
Oh, come on, guys. You got to put me on the spot like that?
All right, Gabe, why don't you tell
Holy
us...
shit, he has spoken, everybody.
Gabe, why don't you tell us where we can find you?
You can find me on... Oh, you want me to...
Where can we find you?
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Gabe. Gabe,
Seth
where...
is such a nice guy.
Go ahead, Gabe. Where can we find you?
Basically on Instagram, Gabe_CarLifestyle. And find us on our main page at CarLifestyle on Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. T-minus?
I'm T-_NYC_CarLifestyle.
That's a long name. How are you supposed to remember
Oh
that?
my God, I gotta get shit from
I didn't say it this time, okay?
No, but you were
I didn't say
edging.
it.
You were
Yes.
edging. You were like,
Two
here's my
underscores.
opportunity to make
Underscores.
Ryan Tuerck laugh. You
Two
were like, I'm down.
underscores. What is
Oh
it?
my God. I should just be T-Tuerck at NYC at New Hampshire driveway
Underscore.
car lifestyle. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, no, I got
He
the
is
underscore.
T_M_I_. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Under whore. That's what you are. That's TMINUS_NYC_car lifestyle. Our main account, of course, is at CarLifestyle, CarLifestyle. And, various other platforms, Tumblr, Pinterest, Twitter,
Vine.
Facebook.
Vine,
Facebook.
Facebook.
And now
Do you guys
soon to
Vine?
be-
Do you guys Vine?
Yeah, we do Vine.
Yeah.
What's on Vine? I thought it was just porn stuff on Vine these days.
Well,
That's what we're doing, bro.
that's what Smiles is doing. And now Periscope, I think, right?
Yeah, we just signed up today. Periscope.
Which I know Ryan doesn't know about. They just got running water in New Hampshire last week, so.
Well, I'm up on a Snapchat. So you guys doing Snapchats?
we have a Snapchat, but we don't.
Yeah,
use
yeah,
it.
what? We're ready for you.
And you can find myself, Seth Rose, at Exotics Rally. That's EXOTICS Rally, RALLY. Also at Art of Rap NY, ARTOF WRAPNY on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And I'd like to ask our audience, please tell your friends, download the podcast. It's free. It will always be free.
Yeah, it's free 99.
It's totally free to download. You know, you can give us a review on iTunes. Those help as well. And if anybody has any questions or wants to add any type of content, please email us at askclpodcast@gmail.com. Again, askclpodcast@gmail.com.
That's Seth's Barry Manilow voice.
Okay.
Sounds very sexy.
It does, right?
You guys are into each other.
It's late night at the CL Podcast.
Oh, my God.
All right, so I think we got some good content. I think we
Absolutely.
are done for this episode. We look forward to bringing you many more. And as I always say, that's a wrap.
Car Lifestyle.